Well, there are reports that American media personality Regis Philbin has died at the age of 88. Philbin's career spanning more than 6 decades. In fact, he set the Guinness World Record for most hours on U.S. television, and he was the face of morning TV in the United States for more than 20 years. In 1988, he started on the popular Live with Regis and Kelly on ABC. And of course, some may remember him as the first host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Known for his excitable personality, warmth, humor, his New York accent, and his distinctive delivery, Philbin was loved by audiences, beginning his career as a TV writer before making his way in front of the camera back in 1961. And according to People magazine, his family said in a statement that he died of natural causes. Well, in 2009, Tamara Taggart traveled to New York to co-host with Regis Philbin for a day on Live with Regis and Kelly. She was working with CTV at the time, joins us in Vancouver. Tamara, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Michael.
Now, full disclosure, Tamara and I not only worked with each other at another network, I'll just say, our desks were not that far apart. So it really is good to be speaking with you today. You know, I want to begin with how you even got to co-host with Regis Philbin, as we say, 2009. Walk us through how that opportunity even presented itself to you.
It's hard to believe it was 11 years ago. Yeah. It was right before the Olympics, and I was doing the weather at during the 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock news. There was this, I guess it's kind of like a contest that went out to all the TV stations across North America that aired Regis and Kelly. And it was to host a day with Regis while Kelly was on vacation. And then they flipped it a couple of weeks later and did the same thing to replace Kelly, or to replace Regis when he went on vacation. And it was super fun. I was the only Canadian that went. It was the first time I had ever been to New York. I mean, what a way to go to New York. Stayed in a fancy hotel. I knew that the guests that day were Geraldo Rivera, and it was oh my gosh, Renee Zellweger. And so how could I forget Renee Zellweger? I was so nervous. I just can't explain how nervous I was.
Let's talk about that, because, you know, in the introduction we said that, you know, he was the face of morning TV in the United States, but that show, which also airs in Canada, it's you know, recent iteration, most recent one, it was a huge ratings grab at the time. So how daunting was it for you? Yes, here you are entering this contest to want to co-host with Regis, but how daunting was it for you to say, well, I'm going to sit beside Mr. TV, this man that has dominated American television for decades now?
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't even enter the contest. The station entered it, you know, on behalf. The network decided, oh, let's enter these two people, one from Toronto, one from Vancouver, from the network to go. I had nothing to wear. I had just had a baby. I started going to the gym as soon as I found out that I won. I was like, okay, I need to go to the gym immediately. Yeah. And I borrowed a dress from a fancy store. I got a new pair of shoes, and I just couldn't believe it was happening. And I remember, because I'd been married, a few years earlier, and I remember the best advice I got when I got married was just savor every minute of the day, because it'll go by like that, and you won't remember anything. So I thought, okay, I'm going to be present for every single second, no matter how nervous I am.
Yeah.
It was so hot. It was August in New York. And everything just started to happen so fast. And the weirdest part, Michael, was when I got there, and I'm in the ABC studios in the basement. It was nothing fancy at all. And they said, okay, well, you won't meet Regis until you go out on set.
Well, talk to us about that, because, you know, here you are in the basement, as you say. TV always looks better on screen than it does in real life. But talk to us about that moment that Regis actually introduced himself to you, because my understanding is he was really quite kind with you.
He was very kind. So they said, you're not going to meet him before you go out. And I said, okay. So I sat in my dressing room, extremely nervous, and I could hear him in the hallway. And he popped his head in the door, and he yelled in his way, Tamara Taggart. And then he closed the door and disappeared. And I was that Regis? And of course he did it again, and he did it again. And then he came in and sat down with me, and we had a little chat. This is when I was giving him a Canadian hockey jersey, and I had all these gifts from the Olympics for him. And he was just so kind to me. And when it was time to go, he came to my dressing room. He opened the door and he said, "Are you ready to go, kid?" And I said, "Oh my gosh." He said, "It's going to be great." And he grabbed my hand and we walked down the hallway. And as we were walking, I said, "I'm so nervous." I couldn't, my heart was just pounding in my throat. And I said, "I'm so nervous." And he said, "You're going to be great, kid. You're going to be great." And I said, "What's your name again?" And he just started laughing his head off, and out we went, and everybody started cheering. And I saw the set for the first time, and he was so giving and kind, and it was such a fun thing to experience because he didn't work with a teleprompter. He worked with big cue cards, like it was still the 1960s, right? Yeah. And that's what he worked off of, was his cue cards, and I loved it. I loved seeing how he did things behind the scenes.
Well, I have to ask, though, and forgive me for jumping in because we have about 1 minute left, though. Now that you hear this news, and many people are saddened by this news because, again, they know Regis Philbin through television. How are you feeling to hear that he has passed away now?
Well, I'm sad. I mean, I think about what he contributed to a lot of us growing up and watching TV and watching him for decades. But what I'm grateful for is that I got to experience his kindness and how giving he was, how he allowed me to talk. I mean, as you know, live television is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy. Even when you're sitting beside him, he had a way of treating everybody the same. I mean, this is my experience and what I saw. Yeah. And his charisma walks in the room before he does. Definitely. He is probably one of the most charismatic people I have ever been in the same room with.
Tamara, I knew you would be the perfect person to speak with once your name came up. So listen, I miss you. I'm so glad we were able to talk today, and thanks for sharing that.
I miss you too, Michael. Take care.
You too. That is Tamara Taggart, who joins us in Vancouver.